what really happened between you and Sheryl? Was she
Cheryl
talking about
Underwood.
something?
Oh yeah,
Something
she's
happened between y'all?
yeah,
You can't
Cheryl,
start
man,
some shit.
that was my arch rival for a minute. That was my nemesis, man. I hated Cheryl Underwood.
Oh
Man. So here's what happened. Here's the long, short story. I
mm-hmm.
did Comic View. My first TV experience was Comic View 2005.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that the
2005.
year she hosted?
That was the year that she hosted. I
And
had
now
no
it's coming back. That's the year she was shitting on comics.
yes. And
Yeah, I remember. Okay.
she only shit on 3 comics. And Lazy Lamont.
I,
So
I
that was
remember.
my so I just moved to LA, right? I
Mm-hmm.
knew some people. Some people gave me comedy credit for being on the radio,
Mm-hmm.
but I had no set. I
Mm-hmm.
had no stage presence. I wasn't a strong comic at all. And I knew it, but I had a good publicist and I had built some relationships in radio. So I got on Comic View on the last season.
Our next guest co-starred on the nationally syndicated Russ Paul Morning Show. He's also written for comedian George Wallace. Put your hands together for Lazy Lamont!
I had a decent set, but back then I didn't stick to my set. I did a lot of improv, did a lot of riffing.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, and most people don't know, TV, you got to write it out word for word,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to do it the way you
Right.
wrote it to them.
Right. Yep. Yep.
So I'm still learning how to be a comedian on stage. So I get in there and I deviate from my set list because I'm looking at the room. I ain't never been to New Orleans. I ain't never been on
Right.
TV. I had a decent set.
Okay.
It was just I was doing different than what I wrote them.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
now here's where I blacked out. Now so Luther Vandross died that day.
Oh wow.
So I remember stopping, trying to gather my thoughts. You know, I was give it up for the ladies, you know, all that shit. I
Yeah.
ain't do that though. But I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, rest in peace, Luther Vandross and da da da. I had a little applause break or whatever, trying
Yeah.
to reset in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But they had this big, it was a big theater, right? Big theater, auditorium. They had these TVs in the back of the room,
Right.
40-inch TVs as clocks,
Okay.
but they were timers, right? So
Right.
it was late. It was late at night. So it's like 11 o'clock at night. So I
Yeah.
look up and I see 10:58.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was 10:58. So I go into another joke because in my head
Right.
I knew I said I'm gonna be off by 11 o'clock, right? So I
Right.
figured I had like 2 or 3 more minutes. Now that was 10:58, 10:59, 11. That was the
Oh,
counter.
that's how much time you doing.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you only had 10 minutes.
Right.
So I finished the last joke, which didn't really get the crowd. And I look at the clock, that bitch like 12:40. And I was like, oh, that was minutes. That ain't
Oh
the
yeah.
time.
Right.
So I get off, you know, I'm thinking in my head because I thought comedy was about leaving big. So I'm still trying to find a joke in my head to leave
Yeah.
to.
We've
So
all
I,
we've all been there. We've
yeah, I
all
thought
been
that's
there.
how you do it. I thought that's how
Yeah.
you do it. So I get off stage and we pass each other in the hallway and she said some slick shit to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as she goes out there and the producers, they yelling and taking the headphones off and running. You went over time and it's TV. You unprofessional and you'll never work in Hollywood, blah, blah. I mean, literally backstage roasting me. And then I hear her on stage crushing me,
Oh
whipping the
wow.
audience into a frenzy,
Mm.
talking shit about me. You know, talking about almost, but wasn't. It's like when you got premature ejaculation and you had big plans and it didn't
Mm-hmm.
happen. Shitting on me, right?
Right.
So
Wow.
the producers like, yo, we in Hollywood, you're gonna learn a valuable lesson. We pay for jokes. That's the jokes you do. If you ever get this chance again, you remember that and blah blah blah. They you know, little kid at me, sent me downstairs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 4th of July weekend. This is Essence Festival, New
Right.
Orleans, 2005.
Mm.
What happens in August of 2005?
Katrina.
Katrina. My biggest joke in the set was about a hurricane. I said, you ever seen the old footage of hurricanes? And, you know, they remember hurricanes when we grew up in the 80s? You had Bruce and Hugo. I said, they got gay ass hurricanes. Now they got Fabian. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
here's footage of Fabian battering the Carolinas. And I was like, wheel, wheel, I'm a hurricane. The whole place went up.
I was watching the news, right? They had a gay hurricane. Y'all remember Hurricane Fabian? I mean, it was a product of the 80s, man. When I was growing up, you watch the news, they had hurricanes like Bruce and Hugo, Hurricane Chuck. And they show on the news, right, the hurricane footage. Here's Hurricane Hugo tearing up the East Coast. Rah! Rah! Watched the news the other day, they had Hurricane Fabian. They showed the footage, it was like this. Here's Hurricane Fabian battering the Carolinas. Will, I'm blowing. I'm a hurricane. Will.
That was the best joke in my whole set.
Yeah.
So when the hurricane hit, they cut the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't play none of my set.
Mm.
None of it.
None of it.
So on TV, I'm telling people, I get the email, they like tell your friends, whatever. I'm telling people, I got the
Yeah.
whole email campaign, I got the whole world, my whole world,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah,
we
you getting
tuning
the
in.
word out there. You
We
getting the word out
tuning in. We gonna
there.
see. My mama, that's my baby. Yo, College View.
You
This
social
how
media before social media.
right.
Right.
So they play it, and it was like, hi, my name is Lamont King. I'm from DC. And then it goes right to Sheryl. My 10-minute set is 30 seconds of me and 10 minutes of her roasting me.
Oh
When I
shit.
tell you they played that episode 148 times that year because
Wow.
they couldn't edit around the hurricane bit and they
Right.
couldn't play it.
Yeah.
And that was the season they started doing the blooper shit.
Yeah. That's what I
Where
remember. Yeah.
you stay up 2 a.m. watching Comic View failures. And I
Mm-hmm.
was one of them. So that shit made me famous for a hot minute. And I thought, man, I had just moved to California. I hated her. I was on her head, man. I used to go places to try to I swear
Try to
for
run
Allah.
into her.
Oh man, because I was like, yo, I will never be able to, come back from this. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, she ruined my career.
Mm-hmm.
And then we made peace like 4 years later. BT Awards, I had done some things and kind of bounced back, and me and her made peace, and
Mm-hmm.
she apologized and all that, and that was the
Cause
last time I talked to her.
yeah, that's crazy. I remember that.